So this is the Guild Wars 2 beta. This is Ascalonian Catacombs, in fact, the first instance, and this is going to be a run through that myself, Nightblade, and Trowah did, who's going to introduce himself now.
Hello.
There you go. So we've actually cut part of the start off. We've cut all the cinematics off so you don't get that spoiled for you, and we've basically cut out a lot of the trash, and this is the first sort of mini boss that you get to, who is ridiculously annoying. We did leave some of the trash packs in so you can see how frustrating they are. Elementalists are a pain in the arse. And that's about it. You are joined by 2 NPCs during this. We've only got one of them with us at the time, and I'll apologise right now for my appalling play. I am the elementalist called Sazamir, and I spend half of this instance dead. But with the viewpoint we're looking through is Trowah's Hunter, so if you want to run down your Hunter and like what kind of spec you're using.
Hunter? I believe we're called Rangers in your
Rangers, Hunters, you've got a pet, you use bows and greatswords, so you know, same difference.
I like the way that you mentioned that you spend half of this instance dead, and I'm now currently lying on the floor. Great. Right, I have been using a greatsword and a longbow just purely because I enjoy the actual weapon skills and the weapon set that you actually get with those. They also seem to be one of the more powerful ones. But my utility skills that I've currently got set up on there, it was first bash at an instance. I figured I will try and get some stuff which is useful for a group. So I've got things that are just keeping me alive, putting AoE snares down for people, and just trying to increase damage. The heal that I've actually got there actually applies an AoE spring on the ground, which applies regen to everyone around me as well.
So my elemental setup, I start off, as you can see currently I'm using dual daggers, so I'm using the AoE fire and fire trail to put down auras which people can use to combo off. I do actually switch to staffs because daggers was just getting me killed too much, although staffs didn't help that much either, to be honest. I think my utility spells were Arcane Power, which gives you critical bonuses, Arcane Shield, which you just saw on me, and I have no idea what my third one was off the top of my head. And I am using the glyph that whenever I cast a spell I get healed for a small amount, or I can activate it and do big time healing. So this is the first like mini boss that you face. Basically he's like the gatekeeper. You've got to kill him to get a key. His main effect, you can see there, is that AoE sort of knockback, which was doing all of our heads in. And we also didn't have a proper group set up for this. I think we've got a thief, a necromancer, and 2 hunters. Was it we had in our party, or was it one hunter and something else?
Yeah, we had two rangers. It was 2 rangers, a necro, a thief, and an elementalist. So we didn't really have anything that was particularly tanky. I mean, you can see this. One of the reasons why I had a bear out a lot of the time. They seem to be able to take a ton of damage. I think at this level, the bear pet actually had about 1,500 more hit points than I did. Well, this is embarrassing.
You being res. It's alright, everybody gets res in this instance, about 50 times. So the instance took us about 2 hours to get through. I think if you were with, because only 2 of us were on Mumble, so only 2 of us could talk. I think if you had 5 people on communications and you had like a control in there, so maybe a warrior or even a guardian, would be perfect for some of the bosses on this because of their great punt ability with the 2-handed mace. I think you could get through it in maybe an hour and a half. So this is the first AoE pack that we got to, which is they AoE the living crap out of you. And you can also see on the screen here, these red circles are actually traps which are being activated, and they are ridiculously hard. My one tip to anybody doing this instance is the elementalists have to die first because they 3-shot people and put down AoEs. So we've actually skipped ahead because I was sick of putting in too much stuff. So this is the second boss, and you had more success about getting near this guy than I did. So do you want to explain what's going on?
More success, I'm not too sure. I didn't realise that there was actually there's a ton of traps that you see go down on the ground, and I tried running in round to the left-hand side. What I ended up doing is getting knocked down pretty quickly. There we go. And then someone else actually deactivated the traps. You can see now they're not spawning on the ground at all. But this guy, he just stood there shooting at people, and people were avoiding a lot of damage. It didn't seem too particularly hard.
No, I think the hardest part of this particular room was the fact that there were so many traps, and you had to deactivate those traps first to then be able to do anything else. The reason why you have to go in this room, because you'll notice that the door behind us, we actually stand against in a minute because we can't figure out how to open it, is that this room is the only room with a boulder in it, and you need a boulder to open a gate that's just down those stairs you saw a second ago. I've cut all the "we moved a boulder around" bit out because I didn't think it was particularly interesting. But the room after this is quite hilarious, and we'll explain why when we get there. So I'm actually using staffs now. As you can see, I'm putting down full AoEs, and that's why Trowah's getting so much regeneration, which is always good fun. I do think staffs may become the norm for instances, just because of the amount of sort of benefits you can get, at least for elementalists. I can't speak about the other classes. I don't know what our Necro is using, for instance. As you can see, I'm just throwing fire at stuff.
Yeah, at this point we were just trying to nuke him down. You can see me sticking down my AoE regeneration to try and keep people topped up. And with the projectiles, you end up applying extra regeneration to people as you fire through them, which I found particularly handy.
Are you firing through Necromancer pets that are just to give them extra regen?
No, they're ranger pets. The little double-tailed scorpions.
Yeah, the double-tailed scorpion. I forget what your pets were all called.
Yeah, I can't remember what it actually was.
So that's him dead, and now we've got onto the hilarious trap room. So all around this room, there's sort of gargoyle heads, which you have to kill. I didn't when I first went into this room. I just tumbled all the way through it and got to the other side. And then we realised that we have to actually destroy all these heads, and they constantly put down AoE shots, which are fairly easy to avoid, to be honest, but I do a bad job of it nevertheless.
I think you can actually see from my skill bar as well, I've actually changed around some of my utility skills. I've actually, whilst I was leveling, I was using Sharpening Stone a lot. I think a lot of rangers will be using that. Your next 5 attacks will apply a bleed effect to the target, and when you're using, with the longbow, if you use your number 3, which actually applies a vulnerability, and then your number 2, which does a rapid fire, you can stack up those bleeds very, very quickly.
Yeah, this is something we've been seeing. We've been seeing a lot in the online sort of guides that people are doing. Is this idea of stacking conditional effects? I think in World v World, this is going to take more precedence rather than in dungeons where you can sort of have a bit of everything and get away with it. People are just going to go for one type of condition and then stack the living heck out of it. So this video actually, this part of the video, in fact, cuts there because we wanted to take you straight to the first boss, first major boss at least. So this is sort of the crux of the instance, is that you have to find, is it Eir Stegalkin or something like that? She's got a stupid name and a pet. She's a ranger who's got stuck in here. And then you have to start taking out these guys. So this fight was one that initially confused me because of the amount of AoE stuff that came out.
Yeah, you can see I've actually switched my abilities to go with the one-handed sword and the one-handed dagger. I just felt like with the two-handed sword I was dying a bit too much, so I wanted to get the extra evasion that I could get from the one-handed sword abilities and stuff. Number 3, the Viper thing where I spin round, actually acts as an evade, and then you also get an evade off of the dagger number 4 ability. You say that you were confused. I was confused as to what the first boss actually was. It wasn't until I saw a big red circle on the map that I actually realised we were actually facing a boss finally. There were about 2 or 3 times where I thought that we'd already faced a boss.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of, I don't know whether it's just this instance, because obviously we've only seen this one. There seems to be a lot of this idea of many mini-bosses. So this is us healing up the NPC, because they die fairly easily, and it's pretty damn annoying. And that's me again, dead on the floor. Yay!
For some reason, I did seem to prioritise you over the NPCs, but I did find that when I killed the NPC, when I rezzed the NPCs rather, they did die very, very quickly.
Yeah, I could generally put them on a fight. So this is another hammer boss. He had, I think he had 2 knockbacks, and that was annoying. The sort of channel ability that he fires straight off at you, which I've seen on a few mobs, but his hit like a ton of brick. which of course was incredibly annoying. So we eventually finally get him down, and
without me dying.
Yep. Trow never died. Never happened. So the other thing is, we also get everybody gets their own piece of loot off the boss, so there's no fighting over who gets what and stuff like that. Some of it's useless, but it's none of it's soul bound either. So you can like trade it between yourselves. Like if I got a really good hunter weapon, not hunter weapon, a ranger weapon, I could give it to Trowah, for instance. So this is the second of the main bosses. Now that we've finally got to that stage, this guy's basically a ranger, and he was a nightmare.
I didn't find this guy too much of a problem. I think it was me and the other ranger that actually clocked onto what you could do on this. I don't know if the other ranger had done this before. Like we said, it was a bit of a random... We got like 3 random guys to join us. But on the opposite side of where I currently am, there was like a small girder type ramp thing. So... I've dropped down a little bit there, but there was there's a little girder that you could just run up on, so that if you are playing heavy melee, you can get in there. It did actually work out to my advantage a little bit, because you do then later on find out in the fight they actually ports to the outer edge.
See, this is why it was a nightmare for me, at least, because I was all happy up until this point, the point where he jumps across. And sort of like starts walking around towards you. I think I'm quite near him at this point, so I'm just like, go away, leave me alone, please, don't come near me. So I'm putting down, and that electric field you can see actually stuns anything that moves through it. So kiting bosses through it's quite useful, and I am using chain lightning because it's the greatest skill ever.
I think with those lightning fields as well, one of the things that they give is any projectiles that go through them, and I think it works with some other some other finishes as well. It stacks up invulnerability on the target, so you can increase the damage that you're doing to that target so quickly when you've got people that are rapid firing or doing very fast hits and so on.
By the way, that was a tactical decision made by me to use Burning Retreat to get down those stairs really quickly and get the boss away from me. So, like, as for mechanics of how this boss fight works, it's pretty simple. It's one of the more simplistic ones out of this instance. This is the first like named boss, so he's got actual abilities. So he's got a few AoE shots, and then the main thing that he does is he teleports to different areas and starts summoning pets. I think he summons 2 pets during the course of the fight, and both of them were wolves. I didn't see any different ones, but we didn't do exploration mode, in fact, so we won't know if he did have anything special in that version.
Yeah, he seemed to spawn 2 wolves throughout the fight. I don't know if it was after a certain period or if it was at a certain percentage, but from where I'm stood at the moment, every time he would port out, he would spawn a wolf. And I mean, I just tried to keep them CC'd a little bit. My number 4 attack with the longbow is actually a knockback, so I was just trying to keep them pinned against the wall and stop them from... There you go, you can see me doing it there now. I end up just trying to keep it from doing too much damage to everyone else there. I think it's probably better to actually focus the wolf and get that down, but we thought we'll take him down.
Well, we focused the first time he did it, we focused the wolf down, and then the second time, because he was on such low health, it was just worth quickly killing him and then leaving the wolf till second. So that's the first of the boss. Everybody does get a nice piece of loot off him. I think everybody got a blue, to my knowledge. I know I did. It was a warhorn, so it was useless to me as an elementalist, but I still got a blue warhorn. And you get these chests where you actually get your loot from at the end of each boss. And the next boss is the boss I hated the most, because it's the lovers fight, if you remember that.
Oh, this was so much fun. It's apparently you're meant to ideally split them apart, kind of similar to the twins in WoW.
Yeah, I was gonna. This isn't a mechanic we haven't seen before, but this is the first time that we've seen this mechanic without dedicated tanking roles. So I was a bit like weirded out about how this was going to work, especially when I heard it was in there. So that shiny thing that you just saw just above the minimap is a boulder. Apparently you can use the boulders to knock them away. We didn't know this, and we ignored the mechanic of get them away from each other.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But so there's 2 of them. The female one casts lightning. She summons lightning AoE, and she has an added effect when she's nearby. I think her AoE is bigger. when she's near, and the male one summons illusionary mages, which I actually found out after it are a lot harder when he's near her. So that's why we were all getting owned by illusionary mages. As you can see, my health bar is rapidly decreasing because I didn't notice I had 3 elemental illusionary mages kicking the hell out of me.
Were you owing a lot in this fight?
Yes.
See, I was just single targeting, so I don't know if it was I wasn't doing AoE damage, so I wasn't getting aggro of those little guys, but I really didn't notice them too much. There was only the odd time that I would actually end up switching targets on them if I noticed that they were on someone, so I could knock them back or something.
I think after, because I die here quite early into the fight, and I think it was after this death, or it might have been the next death. Yes, I die multiple times during a boss fight. But that's when I sort of decided, right, I can put down my fields, but I should put most of my single target damage onto the illusionary mages and just mop them up off everyone else, because they were sort of causing a few problems.
I think having someone dedicated to taking out those little lads is going to be useful, and then having, I mean, like I said, we didn't have an ideal setup. We didn't really have someone that had kind of built themselves a bit more tanky or to do more control, as it were. I know that Arinet are trying to get away from the Holy Trinity, but I still think there's an aspect that you can go tanky in this and to be able to take a ton of hits. So you could potentially have those roles filled to almost that kind of effect.
I think I was lagging there when I just stand there for a second and then get one shot. So this is how you know if they've got the Lover's effect in action, because they are basically stood on top of each other now, and both of those hearts. We did find out actually that even when you kill one of them, the other one can still have the Lover's effect. That bubble that is around the male at the minute reflects projectiles and is a nightmare, because it basically will cause you to kill yourself on him. I've now switched to scepters, I believe, during that. So I've skipped ahead because basically there's this huge point of the fight where we literally had to do nothing to the guy and just sort of try to pull him away from the dead woman, so we could actually get that reflected or off him. I think this is going to be a fun fight for when you have more in your party that can actually have knockback effects. I mean, I had a knockback effect, you had a knockback effect. I don't know about the other people, because we obviously don't know what they took. But I think you need somebody dedicated who can just literally run in there, knock them away from each other, and then whose job it is to stop them from being together.
Sorry for my spacker viewpoints at times. I end up going into some odd camera positions when I'm moving around. But with this, I think having knockbacks. I mean, you've also got pull effects in the game. Remember, you've got the thief can have the scorpion wire, I think it is. Guardians have something where they spin round and so on. So there's going to be plenty of ways to move them.
So this is the next boss. This is the third of the mid-range bosses. I suppose is the best way to call it. And this one's actually a necromancer, which is... I thought this fight was going to be more annoying than it was. We didn't have too many problems with it. Basically, she summons these apparition minions, and the idea is that you have to kill the minions to stop her from healing off the minions. I thought this was going to be a bit of a nightmare, because I didn't think we had... Between us, I didn't think we had enough to get rid of the minions fast enough, but she didn't seem to heal too much off each one, so it wasn't too much of a problem for us in general, but it was quite a good fight.
Well, one of the things, I mean, I started off the fight with my longbow, and then partway through the fight, once I realised what the mechanic was, I then switched my one-hand sword and an offhand dagger. The main reason that the little Viper attack, that actually leaves a poison effect on the target, and the poison effects actually reduce the healing that they take by 33% or 50%, I think it is. Yeah,
and being able to reduce somebody's healing abilities, especially for a mechanic which requires healing abilities to work, is absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah, so I figured I'd just get in there and switch to doing that just to try and prevent the amount of healing that she's doing, and then just focus on doing the single target damage, whilst the mages and so on would focus on taking down the ads as quickly as possible.
See, I didn't think she did too much damage overall. Like, I think this is one of the boss fight I didn't die on. and she didn't have that too much. That fear mechanic was annoying because the range seemed to be a little bit random at times. Like there were points when she was only getting people point blank, and then there was points when she was getting the entire group of us, even though we were really far away. So it was a bit hit and miss with that particular thing, but we did get it down quite convincingly, and I was happy about that.
Yeah, the amount of damage that she output, I didn't feel as though it was too much of a worry. I don't think we had anyone go down in that fight.
No, but this is the king fight, which is particularly annoying. He does summon faux fire, and I have no idea what faux fire is to this day.
No. What the main mechanics that were really horrible on him was he had the guardian type ability where he threw a chain out on someone, would drag them next to him, and then knock them down. All in that process doing a lot of damage.
That's the reason why. I think he did it on me about 3 times in a row, and every time he just literally one-shot me. Because that chain effect actually stops you from using your tumble for a couple of seconds. So that was enough to like kill you. And I think it's once it gets below 50% as well, he starts doing it on everybody. Because there was points when we were all getting pulled into the middle of him, and then all trying to dive away as fast as possible. Actually, that graphic effect on your screen might have been faux fire there. I think it's just an AoE, but he was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. This is the other thing, I left this in on purpose, right? Every time you defeat a true boss in an instance, you actually get a waypoint where that boss was. So on fights like this, where many of us were dying a few times due to incompetence, not having the right setup, it actually came in really handy having those spawn points quite near, because we could all just run back at the same time quickly.
Yeah, I'm kind of in two minds about that. I think that it's nice to be able to do that the first time round, but I think at the same time I'm wondering whether they'll put some kind of barrier up or something that will stop you from using the waypoints whilst you're still fighting a boss.
Yeah, it's still in beta. Obviously, this is like the entry level instance as well. So I think this is the instance where you'll sort of get away with murder, and they'll let you do a lot of stuff. And then the next instance up, which I think is level 40. But isn't open to us yet. I think that's where they'll start bringing in the Necromancer boss. Actually has an effect when she aggroes that she puts fire around the entire pit you fight her in. So I think they'll bring in more of that kind of thing. Like if you die and you release, you're now out of that fight. So they'll be more based on you trying to get rezzed up by your party and stuff like that.
One thing that you'll notice here while I'm down. It's taken me quite a while, 30 levels in fact, to realise exactly how my number 3 ability should work. My number 4 ability is just the general heal. The number 3 actually gets it's called Lick Wounds, and my pet comes over and starts to help heal me up. But my pet apparently needs to be alive to be able to do this. So now I start timing it, so I can use my number 2 to revive my pet, then my 3 to get him to Lick Wounds, and then number 4 to actually start trying to heal myself.
And then we get an AoE. This was something I found kind of fun about this boss. The fact that he had a knockback, which he would use on you while you were down, and then he'd just knock you out of his range, so you could just sort of sit there and slowly res up.
Yeah, as you can see, I actually get kicked out of the area that we're actually meant to be fighting in. But eventually the rest of my team managed to take him down.
So we did that, and then we get the nice lovely graphic of winning the boss fight, eventually, when we've rezzed everybody up. So that video has just restarted for me. So I'll probably stick some more stuff on the end. I really enjoyed the video, the instance, overall. Have you got any final thoughts on it?
I really enjoyed it. It's a good entry level. It shows off a lot of different mechanics for people new to Guild Wars 2, and it gives you a lot of confidence in their ability to make good PvE fights. But also at the same time, for new players to the game, provided they get to level 30, it's going to give them a good experience of what kind of things you can expect from it.
So, in addition to this is probably the first one that actually goes up, but we do have a load more footage of us generally larking around and showing you some of the cool events that you can find out there. The thing that I didn't realise for a long time is events are the actual things that get you karma rather than the hearts. So definitely, if you see an event nearby, even if you've already done it like twice, take part in it because it will still get you a decent amount of karma. So that is it from us, and we will catch you next time.